Our work at KeHE matters, not only to impact the lives of our retail partners and suppliers, but to make a difference in our families, our communities, and even the world. Hello, my name is Adrienne Binder, and I'm your host for Fruit of Your Labor, a KeHE podcast. We aspire to update you on what's happening at KeHE and inspire you with the amazing stories of how you are working to make lives better. Enjoy the episode. Many of our KeHE employees are familiar with the KeHE Cares Foundation and its global impact. For those listening who are unfamiliar with the foundation, it operates on three fundamental pillars: serving and giving, an impact fund, and a leadership academy. We have additional podcast episodes delving into each of these pillars if you'd like to learn more. Today, we're going to learn about some important milestones in the history of one part of the foundation, KeHE Cares Outreach. And we're going to talk with two of the people who played a big role in getting it started. Brandon Barnholt, former CEO of KeHE and current chairman of KeHE's board of directors, and Randy Shaw, the recently retired director of KeHE Cares Outreach. Brandon and Randy, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Adrienne. Appreciate you talking to us and giving us the opportunity to share this great story.
Thank you for having us on. And Randy's been such a joy to work with over the years, and it's going to be great to tell this story.
Let's start from the beginning. Randy, you began going by yourself on serving trips in 1993 and then started taking teams of employees with you in January of 2010. Can you tell us how this all got started?
Well, I can try. Art K, our founder, was the one who believed in giving back. It was a personal passion of his, and Art did it in a very offhanded way, in a very quiet way. He would give to anybody in need. He gave a lot through his church. His son, Jerry, took over, and I saw the memo that Jerry put out in 1989, 3 years before my time, and he was asking for a group of volunteers from the employees, saying we give away 10% of our net profit. He made it a part of who we are and what we do, and turned the giving over to the employees. I came to the company in 93. I had met Jerry through a trip to Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota and came to the company because while they were giving the 10%, not much was happening with it. And he said, you have to work a regular job, which I did from 93 until 2014. I was in accounting and then in marketing. Giving back was always my passion. It was always a part of who we are and what we did. And I was blessed to be able to manage that 10% such that it was in those days.
Can you tell us a little bit about the initial inspiration and the motivations that led to establishing Outreach outside of where it initially began?
Our founding value is we thank and honor God in all we do. And that's all we're trying to do with the money that we give. And how do we do that effectively without causing harm? How do we do it in an impactful way that truly does lift people up? And I believe that's in relationship. We thank and honor God in all we do is where we lead with relationship. And that relationship spills over to our employees, to our partners, to everyone working in unison and in community to lift up others in need.
So Randy, you get KeHE Care started with Jerry, and then Brandon comes along. So Brandon, how does your involvement evolve KeHE Cares when you come on board with KeHE?
Yeah, it's an interesting time for me to think back about those days, now 17 years ago. I was attracted to KeHE because of its philosophies around giving, and I had heard about Randy and what was happening with KeHE Cares. So I need to start by saying I first learned about the opportunity to be the CEO at KeHE while I was on a serving trip in Honduras. And so I had a little bit of background. I had my own experience. I knew how these kind of trips could impact us in our lives. And so when I came into KeHE and I met the employees, and particularly Randy, I was very interested in this program. But what became clear to me pretty quickly was not enough people were involved and not enough people understood what we were doing. And so I simply put a challenge out to Randy and others how do we get more people involved and how do we make a bigger impact across our employee base? And Randy, along with his committee and Rusty Bland and Eric Fields and others, took that and ran with it. Randy's got his own memories and probably his own philosophy of what that might have meant to him.
When Brandon challenged us to draw others in because nobody really knew what we were doing with the money and how that was impacting people, and allowed us the experiment of bringing employees on a serving trip, employees from different areas of the company, employees with different beliefs, spiritually, politically, and personally. Wasn't sure how that was going to work, but it radically changed the direction of KeHE Cares. It changed me personally because anyone who led those trips found out that you actually fell in love with your fellow employees as you got to know them in serving, which is very different than being in the office with them. Seeing them get outside their comfort zones and discovering what it felt like to truly serve others was amazing. I got to see them in so many instances, people like Carl Snyder down in Bradenton, Florida. I got to see Michelle Dufresne, Amy Kirtland, Jen Ricks, Chris Seberg, men and women that worked in our DCs. All of a sudden, come alive. There is no distinction on these trips between your titles or your position, which I think is a beautiful thing too, where it doesn't matter who you are or what you do for the company. You're a contributor and we get to work together. And so these trips, I believe, are what began transforming the company to the culture we see today. It wasn't overnight. And in the early years, we had trouble filling up the trips. We had always kept about 10 slots, but we had trouble filling it up. But as more and more people came with us and saw how incredible it is to go out and serve others together with your fellow workers, little by little, the tide began to change and we reached a tipping point, I think about 7 years ago, where all of a sudden everybody wanted to go. It's a huge part of our culture. It's what changed our culture to a truly a serving and giving culture.
Randy, you mentioned that this didn't just happen overnight. This has been an evolution that has happened over years. Can you or Brandon talk about the philosophies behind KeHE Cares and how we got from where we were to where we are today with the foundation and it being completely ingrained in KeHE's culture?
Let me take that because I had the unique perspective of watching Randy and work that was happening, the success that was going on. But what became really clear was there was a way to make this a program. There was a way to systematize it and get our partners even more involved. And it was really cool to watch. And I'd call out a couple of partners. First and foremost, Lucy and Elise, who so many people at KeHE know and have been impacted by. But Lucy and Elise were the first partners that we went to and said, we want this to be a serving trip that has organization to it, that our people can travel in and out fairly quickly and over the course of a couple of days have a really great experience and yet, not take them away from work and their families for too long. So they curated a trip along with people at KeHE helping them. And they were really in the early days of helping us put together a trip that would really be impactful. Back in Chicago, where we were headquartered and where so many of our employees were at that time, Mike Trout down in the city of Chicago with the Wyman organization. We would send groups of employees down to Wyman and Mike helped us think about, okay, if they're not going down on a serving trip, but they just have a day or an afternoon or what have you. And Mike really was a great partner in those early days. Today, we've got Jared Brown down in Honduras and Haiti, and we've got the people in Nepal, particularly for our women that want to take a really long and a really heavy trip over to Restoring Hope, Nepal. There are many, many other partners, but what happened is the partners began to understand what we wanted and what would make an impact on our employees, and we began to have structure to what we were doing. We call it the serving journey, and what we've learned and what we know is that if our employees say yes and they go on one of these trips, they get lit up, and that's the word we've always used. When they come back from those trips, we have a report out, we hear the same thing over and over again from our people. And they get more involved at home. And that's the cycle. That's the journey. They take a short trip, then they do more at home, and then maybe they take an international trip. And this is the journey that people go on, and it's really exciting.
What are some of the main takeaways that you would like people, and especially KeHE employees, to know about the work that KeHE Cares does?
I would say the main takeaway is that KeHE Cares is all of us. We're an ESOP. So every employee is an employee owner. But none of this happens without employees doing their jobs. I just wish there was a way for everybody to feel that. I think the trips are the best way for you to go and experience what you're a contributor to. I realize that some people will never come, but it's not about me. It's not about Rusty. It's not about Brandon. It's not about any one individual. It's about all of us collectively. And I have had the opportunity, the privilege to just see the impact that we have had on so many lives around the country and around the world. I wish I could open up something and have everybody take a shot of it and just feel and see and have some sense of the thousands of lives that have been impacted because of what we do every day at KeHE. And that is really unique. It's really unique. It's not us using KeHE Cares and what we do as a sales and marketing tool. We try to keep it kind of in-house, which I believe legitimizes it and makes it real to our fellow employees because they see us not using this as a sales and marketing tool. Anything they see about KeHE Cares is because we want them to feel a part of it, not because we're selling it. I would say that's the biggest thing to me is just hope and pray there's a way that everybody gets to feel what they've been a part of and the lives that they've touched, lives they might never know, in the future, but they have touched.
My perspective on this would be that I would want everybody to not only know that it takes everybody, maybe it's what you do every day that helps us earn the dollars that are committed to KeHE Cares, but I also want everybody to know that it's a program that's run by a committee of employees. It's not directed and managed by upper management. It's a group of employees that have always been led by Randy. And so every dollar that's ever been committed has been committed through the committee. Philosophically, what we wanted those dollars to always do was support people and the needs that people have around the globe. It wasn't a Christian thing. It's a from our heart thing. Every religion is certainly welcome and no religion is welcome, but it's reaching out and helping other people and organizations that are serving people around the world. And the last thing I want everybody to know is our dollars aren't used to write big checks so that we can all pound our chest, and say that we gave the most to whatever organization. We have intentionally, through Randy's hard work and efforts, have always found organizations around the globe and right in our own community that need these dollars desperately. And a lot of times we're the only dollars, or we're certainly the most important set of dollars. And so it isn't about the size of the check. It's about the fact that the organization is in need, the people are in need, and our people have been able to, work hard enough that we've got the dollars that our committee says this is a good cause. And we particularly support an organization if our people are allowed to go serve with them. And those things collectively are what make what we do so special. Everybody's involved. Committee of employees is where it gets directed. And we direct it particularly when they really need our money and our people can go serve.
So Brandon, you're in a different capacity now with KeHE as chairman of the board, and Randy, you're newly retired. But what is your vision for KeHE Cares in the future? And as it continues to evolve, what would you love to see happen?
I would love to see it continue to evolve and get better because of the leadership on the foundation team, and particularly because of Erin Bradley, who is my successor. She has no idea. I was praying for my successor for about the last 3 years. And there she was, hidden in plain sight right under my nose. And it was about a year and a half ago. I realized she's the one. And she is going to be amazing. She's already demonstrated to me throughout our almost daily conversations that she has got game like I've never had. She's a detail-oriented person. She's a people person, and she's a wonderful person. She's strong, she's humble, she's kind. And I'm excited about where she's going to take KeHE Cares, and particularly KeHE Cares outreach in the future.
For me, the thing I would say is the very first really formal team trip that was taken in this new era of KeHE Cares was taken by my senior team down at Laredo. Randy, I challenged him and he challenged me back. And the senior team was one of the first. Deb absolutely loves KeHE Cares. She's a big supporter of it. She's already taken her team on a couple of serving trips. And I think that just shows you that it's going to have strong support into the future. My vision and my dream for this program is that it touches literally millions of lives around the globe. And that for as long as KeHE is a company, it will have an outreach program that will do this kind of work around the globe and in the communities that we all live in. And I'm really confident with Deb's leadership that's going to continue.
The outreach pillar of the KeHE Cares Foundation is incredibly impactful today and is a part of the cultural fabric of KeHE. But this didn't happen overnight. It evolved over years, and it's important to understand how it all got started and where the philosophy for KeHE Cares outreach came from. So thank you, Brandon and Randy, for sharing the history of this evolution with us today. To our KeHE employees, if you would like to learn more about KeHE Cares, you can visit the KeHE Cares website at www.kehecares.org.